Hello, everyone. Here we are once again. I am doing the sponsorship application for a Canadian citizen marrying a Moroccan citizens. If you watch my previous videos, you would see that I started doing the forms. So I was done with the document checklist. Now the next form will be IMM1344, the sponsorship application. Now, if you want to find this form, you will have to go on a Find an IRCC application package or form, and that will look this. Okay, it's on the government website. Okay, and then you will click Find a form or checklist. Once you come to this page, okay, you will put in here 1344, and right there the sponsorship application will appear. Okay, I am showing you this so you will know you have to make sure that you get the latest form. Okay, as you can see, it says date modified 2209. Okay, which means 2022 September, which means that this is the newest one. Okay, now moving forward, once you find the form, okay, I will show you the two forms. Well, first form is the one that I filled out when I applied for my husband. Okay, and the form will have, there's a slight difference between the form that I made back in October 2021 than the form that's the newest one. So basically everything stays the same, they just added some things which is not a big deal. Okay, and the newest form is application to sponsor, sponsorship agreement, and undertaking. Now we will be filling out this form, and as you can see on the very bottom, okay, it says IMM1344 September 2022, which means this is the newest form. Okay, now the form needs to be filled out online. Once you're done with filling out the form, you have to validate the form, which will give you some of the things at the end. Okay, you will see once we are done. I will show you. Okay, so anyhow, this is the form. Now this is the form that I already filled out, and we will start from the top. The form is pretty simple. It's self-explanatory, so there is no much to do. And this is the form that will be filled out by the sponsor. Okay, so the person that's actually from Canada will have to fill out this form. Okay, so the first question is right there. It says if you're found eligible to sponsor, indicate whether you want to. So once you once you give the application to the RCC, they will see if you're eligible to be a sponsor or not. Now they are asking, if you are not eligible to be a sponsor, do you want your money to be returned to you, all by processing fees, which is $75, or you want to continue proceed without the sponsor to sponsor your spouse, which is really, I wouldn't say stupid, but you know, like, who wants to continue with the sponsorship even though you're not eligible? So obviously you will say no. So you want all your money back, less the $75 for the processing fee. So we will click on that. Second is language preference. Obviously you want to go to English. Okay. Is there a co-signer on this application? Now the co-signer would be your partner, your husband, but only if they're in Canada and they are helping you sponsoring a family member, let's say a grandmother, a grandfather, blah blah blah. So this would be no. So because you are the one sponsoring your spouse, there will be no a co-signer. Okay. uh, Moving forward, person you sponsor, principal applicant, you put the family name, okay, but make sure you read the question. Person you are sponsoring, principal applicant, so you need to put their information. So I just put, well, this is not my husband's name, but I just filled it out for the sake of this video. I put Mehmedi, and then obviously he's Moroccan. Give a name Mohammed, and then you obviously fill out the date of birth of your spouse. Okay, now the principal applicant is your, and then you will have to fill out, there is a thing that you can click here, and it will give you the options. Is he a common law partner living outside of Canada, grandparent, orphan sibling, other relative, spouse living in Canada, or spouse living outside Canada? So obviously you want to click on the spouse living outside of Canada, or if your spouse is in Canada by any chance, obviously you click spouse living inside Canada. Okay. Moving forward, and anything that you click here, if this part of the form becomes gray, that means that you don't have to fill it out. So moving forward, if you're a conjugal relationship, provide the date on which you entered into the relationship. So obviously here you would put the day that you were in conjugal relationship, which you're not. You are married, right? So you don't put nothing there. This is the part that you need to read and make sure you pay attention to. And sponsored personal details. So here you would put your family name, and then you would put your given name, okay? And then here in this part here, you would put, have you ever used any other name, example, nickname, maiden name, alias? Now, here you would put, if it's a woman, you would put your maiden name, which means before you got married, and then any nicknames that you used in your social media, people know you by that nickname. And here also you would put your given names that people would know you, that you go by, okay? So anything that's related to you on your social media, you would put all these names here, and family names, okay? uh, Obviously sex, either female or male. Then you put your date of birth, okay? Place of birth, well, I was born in Belgrade. Country Serbia, that was mine, so you put your information, obviously. Status in Canada, if you're a natural Canadian citizen or you're permanent resident, again, you will have to click on this little arrow and it will show you everything. Canadian citizen by birth, Canadian citizen by descent, naturals, Canadian citizen, permanent resident. So you click what is your status, okay? If you are a permanent resident or naturalized Canadian citizen, provide the following information. Obviously, if you're a naturalized Canadian citizen, so whenever you got your citizenship, you would put the date here of your citizenship. Next, UCI client ID, you wouldn't have this yet. Obviously, you're just filling out the form, so that can be left empty. But once you print the application, make sure you write by letters NA, not applicable. Okay, do not leave anything empty. Okay. Next one is full name at the time you became a permanent resident. Okay, so pay attention. When you came to Canada, however you got your permanent resident, was your last name the same as your current full name? So obviously for me it was yes. Okay, I got married, and then later when I got my permanent resident, I had the same last name. Okay. Next one, your current marital status is obviously you are married because you got married in Morocco, right? If you're married or in a common law relation, provide the date on which you were married or entered into common law relationship. So here we put the date that you got married, okay, in Morocco. Provide the name of your current spouse, so it would be your current spouse, right? So I put, again, whatever you put on the top, obviously your husband's family name, Mehmedi Mohammed. And then have you previously been married? Have you previously been married or in a common relationship? Obviously I had to put yes because I was. If you're not, then obviously put no. Everything will become gray. But if you put yes, you have to put your ex-husband's information, name, given name, last name, date of birth of your ex-husband or wife, type of relation. Were you married to this person or you were in common relationship? Whatever the case is, that is what you will be putting here. Again, always pay attention to these little arrows as they will give you the options. Okay, so common law or married. Obviously I was married. Again, you put the date from which you were married to the date that your divorce certificate got finalized. So make sure you put the date that your divorce certificate was finalized. Okay, now moving forward, again, sponsor contact information. Now this is very important here. All correspondence will go to this address unless you indicate your email address below. So if you put your email, all the correspondence to this application will be going to that email. Indicating an email address will authorize all correspondence, including file and personal information, to be sent to the email address you specify. If you wish to authorize the release of information from an application to a representative, indicate their email and mailing addresses in the section on the IMM1344. Now, what this is, if you have a representative, which obviously would be a lawyer, immigration lawyer, they would put their information here and they will put their email address, okay? Now, in my case, because I was the one doing the application and I want all the information to come to me, I don't have the representative, but I want all the information to come to me, okay? I filled out this part and I put my email. No, my husband's not representative. It was me, myself. So here I put my address, okay? And then on the bottom, residential address, same as mailing address, I put yes. Now, if your representative was to fill out the application for you, they will have to put their address here from their company, their email address, but the residential address would be yours. So they would have to put their your address here, okay? I hope you do understand that. Like I'm saying, if you you put your information, okay, now whoever email address you want to put here, that all this information from the application from the IRCC will be going to this email address, will be going to the email address that is here. And this same email address has to be done on the IMM5476. Now, IMM5476 form is filled out by the principal applicant, okay? Because they're the one, they need to have their information given to someone, either themselves or the representative or the sponsorship. Now, the sponsor. Now, if the sponsor is getting all the information, this needs to be filled out, this form, with all the sponsors information on that form, including the ones in here. Okay, so keep in mind that, you know, if you're the one getting all the information from the sponsor, from the, you know, principal applicant, you put your address and your email, so everything will be coming to you. Okay, moving forward, seller, you put your seller number, your residence number, fax. If you do have a fax number, you obviously put the fax number, but if not, make sure you write down NA. Okay, sponsor residency declaration. Okay, are you a Canadian citizen living exclusively outside Canada? See who can sponsor in the guide for information on residency. Now, I don't live outside of Canada, so I click no. If you do live outside Canada and you're trying to sponsor your spouse, you have to click yes, and then go to the next questions, which is once your spouse get the permanent residence, they're asking where would you be living, whether in Canadian province or territory other than Quebec or the province of Quebec. Now they're asking this because obviously if your spouse gets the permanent residence, they have to come to Canada, and they cannot be living in Canada by themselves. You're the one sponsoring them, so you will have to live in Canada with them, with your spouse. Next one is sponsor eligibility assessment. Here you will have to read all these, and obviously in order to be eligible, all these answers have to be yes. Okay, now we're not going to read every single one of them, but make sure you read the question 2-3 times. Make sure you do understand the question and proceed with the answer. Okay. The next one will be in the 5 years preceding this application, did you become a permanent resident after being sponsored as a spouse, common law, or conjugal partner? I clicked no, and then obviously all the answers on the bottom have to be no as well in order to be eligible to be a sponsor. If any of the answers are yes, make sure you read, well, obviously you won't be eligible, but make sure you read the how you call it, the forms that are that will help you to see why you're not eligible. Okay. Next one would be, have you been ordered to leave Canada? Once again, all the answers here need to be no, okay, in order to be eligible to be a sponsor. So like I'm saying, if any of the answers are yes, your eligibility will be next to nothing. So keep in mind. Okay. Next one will be, now this is everything that you need to read in order to know what it takes to sponsor someone, how long the sponsorship will last. Well, right now it's 3 years. Okay. And so you keep reading to make sure you understand what it takes to be a sponsor. Okay, sponsorship agreement for the Quebec residents, obligation of the sponsor, and consigner. Obviously you don't have a consigner. Okay, so you keep reading, and then there's a declaration by the sponsor, by the principal applicant. Now this is the end of the application. Now signatures, make sure you pay attention. Sponsor signature, this is where you sign. Okay, and always make sure every single form is dated. Make sure before you send your application in, make sure everything is dated and signed. If any of the forms are not dated and signed, they will return your application. Now on the top part it says sponsor signature, which would be a Canadian citizen, you, and then the bottom is signature of a sponsor, spouse, or common law partner if co-signer. Make sure you pay attention to the if co-signer. So because you don't have a co-signer, there is no signature on the second line. And then on the very bottom, signature of sponsor person, this would be your spouse. Okay, so you have to sign on the top, and there has to be a signature of your spouse on the bottom. And obviously both dates have to be the same. Now if I go back to the, because this is the application that I did and it was in June 2019, and like I mentioned before, the newest one is September 2022, which is like right now. Okay, so in this one, the only difference between the two is that here they just added the co-signer's personal details, which you don't have to fill out. Okay, you just put NA. You can put NA right on the top. You don't have to go through every single thing. So you just, here on the top you put N/A, not applicable, because you don't have a co-signer. and then again cosigner contact information, again you put NA, cosigner residency declaration NA, cosigner eligibility assessment NA, and everything else stays the same. Okay, so at the end of the application, the form, you have to sign, your sponsor or your principal applicant, your husband or wife, they sign, and that is that. Okay, now once the application, the form is done, you will have to click on validate. Okay, once you validate the form, it will print out the how you call those, the lines that you will have to put in with your application. Okay, at the moment my mind stopped, but you will see there's nothing to it. So once you validate the form, it will actually give you something with the form that you will have to present when you are giving in the application. Okay, that is that. A barcode, there you go, click. So once you validate the form, it will print out the barcode, okay, with your form. Okay, so once you validate, you will print out the form, okay, all filled out, and then it will print out the barcode. Okay, that barcode has to be put in the application when you're sending it to IRCC, whether you do it online or you do it by paper. It doesn't matter, it still needs to be sent. Now make sure the barcode is nice and clean and the bars are, you know, all full without being like, you know, there's no more ink and then the bar is like half done. They will return your application. Okay, so that is about that. If you guys have any questions, let me know. Like I'm saying, the application is pretty straightforward, nothing to it, just your information, your spouse's information when you got married. That's it. And then obviously the eligibility assessment is, are you Canadian citizen or permanent resident? Are you sponsoring member of the family class? So you're answering all these questions according to your situation. Okay, um, like I'm saying, if there is any answers that you had to put yes instead of no, make sure you read the basic guide. It will explain more about eligibility and, you know, if you're not eligible, you know, what you can do about it. Okay, from what I read before, if you're not eligible, you know, there's some pardons that you can ask for and, you know, go that route. But I guess in that case, the best thing would be to actually hire an immigration lawyer and see if they can help you any way possible. Okay, that's about it. I hope it's all nice and clear. If you have any questions, let me know and wish you luck. Bye.